what we're doing is looking at how the private victory helps to produce the public victories, that is, in our relationships with others. And this is where habits 4, 5, and 6 are involved. Habit 4, as you know, is to think win-win. Habit 5, to seek first to understand, then to be understood. And habit 6 is to synergize. So, do you want to come up and help me a minute? Look strong and healthy.
You're a farmer, right?
You also have a very good-looking head. Ron, have never lost an arm wrestle. And I don't intend to now. You're either going to be down there or I'm going to be down there. Okay? Now, see this triumvirate right there? They're going to fund this exercise so that if he puts me down here, he gets the dime. Okay? Can the three of you have pockets that deep? Just stand over here a little more. And if I put you down here, that means you give me the dime. Fair enough? You can draw on all of those behind you. All right, now brace yourself. Ron. Put your elbows close together. Okay. Now, you keep track. You tell us when to start, all right? What's your name? Colleen. You tell us when to start. Give us 15 seconds. All right? Now, if he happens to put me down twice, he gets 2 dimes. So keep track of how many times he puts me down before I put him down. Okay. Give each other the intimidating stare. All right. Okay, wait. Starts equal. All right. Tell us when to start. It's faster if we both win.
Yes, I see.
I mean, literally, see, everything communicates war, contest, win-lose. So, while he's thinking win-lose, you think win-win. Habit 5, you always seek first the interest of the other. See, so we start with tension, then let him win, and let him win again. So gradually he starts to learn what's truly efficient. He learned fast, but most people, seriously, I've had some situations where they just literally hold me down. And I say to them, let's let you win again. And one said to me, no way. I mean, seriously, win-lose poisons the mind. You don't trust anything, see. Habit 4, think win-win, lies at the very heart of all relationships. Think win-win is the habit of mutual benefit. It's the habit of the golden rule. It's the habit of abundance. The underlying paradigm or principle is abundance. There is plenty out there and to spare. So you don't have to be threatened by the strengths of other people. You can nurture competency around you higher than your own. It doesn't threaten you. You can share knowledge. You love to share knowledge. You can share recognition, gain, profit. But if people derive their sense of worth from being compared from the external, from the social value system out there, how well they stack up, they're always in a state of anxiety. They're always studying the pecking order. They're concerned about how they're dressed, how they look. They're into posturing, and they are threatened by competency around them. They feel that if they share knowledge, they lose unique advantage. It gives others the same awareness they have. They lose some power. If they share power, they have less. It's like a piece of pie. There's only so much. If you get the recognition, I may not get it. If I share gain or profit with you, we will have less. It's the paradigm of scarcity, not the paradigm of abundance. Most people have never had profound experiences with win-win people. They don't really believe there's such a thing as win-win. It's either you win or you lose. You're either tough or you're soft. You're strong or you're weak, see? They think in dichotomies, either or. Those people will inevitably produce politicized cultures where politics run things, reading tea leaves, social inventions, natural laws will not govern. Or they will become martyrs. They go for lose-win, particularly among the so-called important people. And then they'll often take out their energy on the ones that they can control, so that they're lose-win above, win-lose below. What happens at the side all depends on the moods, the ego. What happens in the marriage, is it equal? Is it unequal? What happens with the kids? What about your employees? Can you begin to see that the roots of the win-win mindset comes deep out of the private victory? If the private victory is real and sincere, you're at peace. You're centered. You're anchored. You're rooted. You're established. Your ego is not involved. Down deep, you're invulnerable. So you can afford to be vulnerable on the surface of your life. That's why that private victory is so foundational. Habit 4, to think win-win, comes from the principle and paradigm of abundance, not scarcity, meaning the pie gets larger and larger and larger. Why? Because through the interaction on a win-win basis, a transformation begins to take place in our natures to where we tap into more creativity, more resourcefulness, more ingenuity, more wisdom, more intelligence, deeper and deeper into the bowels of the organization, deeper in our marriage, in our family life, causing synergy to take place where the whole is truly greater than the sum of the parts, and the wealth increases, the knowledge increases, the power increases, and the very fear is unfounded. Both are self-fulfilling prophecies, however. Whatever paradigm you believe in will produce the behavior to validate the paradigm, the perception. If you have the attitude of thinking win-win, habit 4, and the skill, the method of habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood, you will create such interaction, such mutual understanding, that it leads to the fruit, synergy, new insights, new learnings, new heights. It all has to start with the person. They have to begin to say, I'm going to go for win-win with people. One man said to me, Stephen, come on. I mean, the world isn't like that. I know this sounds good, but really, this is so idealistic, and you know, I like it, but it's really not like that. I said, well, why don't you go for win-lose? He said, well, most of the time we do. Or lose-win. Sometimes we have to do that, but it is a competitive world. It isn't a cooperative world. I mean, I think you're living too much in the ivory tower of theory and abstraction. I said, well, I better listen to you a little more. Okay, he said, I'll tell you. He said, we tried to go for win-win. We listened to your counsel and tried to practice it. In fact, just recently, we were renegotiating our lease arrangements with the mall operators and owners. And we had a win-win attitude. We were open, we were conciliatory. They saw that as weakness, as softness, and they moved in, and they took us to the cleaners. Why did you go for lose-win? We didn't. We went for win-win. I thought you said they took you to the cleaners. Yeah, they did. In other words, you lost, and they won. That's right. Well, what's that called? And it was as if lights went on. I did. I went for lose-win. I didn't go for win-win. Lose-win is not win-win at all. See, people who think in dichotomies believe that lose-win, being nice, being soft, is win-win. My friends, win-win is so much tougher than win-lose. Why? In the early stages, you have to be tough on yourself to cultivate the empathy, the sensitivity, the openness, the consideration, at the same time, to not capitulate. What have we been calling that balance of courage and consideration? Maturity. And what is maturity a product of? Integrity. Being principle-centered, integrated around principles. Can you see why win-win is the fourth habit, not the first or the second? Can you see why it follows self-mastery? Win-win means we consent together. If you agree to disagree, is that not a win-win situation? We call it no deal. We agree to disagree agreeably. It's not going to work out. We won't hire you. You don't want to join us. You fully understand what expectations are. We understand what your needs and expectations are, and you can see that we're going in different directions. Let's agree to disagree agreeably. I would put no deal as one of the transactional options. We transacted. No deal on this one. Maybe we can come together at a later time. We transacted, see? The problem is, many situations, you don't have those options. It's hard to go for no deal with a child. It's hard to go for no deal with an employee who's been there for, say, 15 years. That would be essentially win-lose to the employee, just to go for no deal. Now, if you could come up with a no-deal option that has the elements of win-win in it when the separation takes place so that the person feels like that was an honest and equitable and fair settlement and you feel the same way, then that is carrying no deal in a situation where you're locked in without any other options to a successful win-win conclusion. I'm telling you, no deal is one of the most liberating options imaginable. I'll tell you why. Look, let's say I'm trying to interact with somebody on a very tough situation. Say this gentleman here. And I say to him, right up front, if we can't work this out, you know, maybe we should work out the best no-deal arrangement possible. But I really want to go for win-win. Let me listen to you first. I need to understand how you see it. I then want to be understood. I see. Well, no deal's always an option. I can be very open. I don't have to manipulate. You'll have a quality of a relationship. You'll have, hopefully, a synergistic solution to problems, the spirit of consensus in the culture, the spirit of synergy and decision. That's the end in mind. It's not that I got my way or he got his way. Now, if I'm deeply committed to win-win or no deal, I can be so open and honest, I don't have to have hidden negotiation techniques. I can just say, that's not a win as I see it, but I need to understand more. Why it's such a win? I see. Then he tries to understand me, and as we interact back and forth, something dynamic happens that is absolutely magical in its effect upon the human spirit. Gradually, we conclude, no deal is best. Or, we've come up with something that is so much better than what you and I initially thought of. Very few people have had profound scripting in win-win. How many of us here have had scripting, that is, socializing processes from many experiences in many settings toward win-lose? How many have been scripted or mentored a little more toward lose-win? How many have been scripted that when you really get into interdependent situations where you have to cooperate in order to accomplish a commonly desired goal, that the best you can come up with, realistically, is compromise? How many have been scripted in that way? We're talking here about these scripting sources, where people get their models and their mentors. Entire cultures, entire groups or organizations, not just individuals, script. You almost get absorbed into the milieu, the climate of an organization or a family, and a lot of people never even think about it. It's the air they breathe. They never question it. It's like the pair of glasses. You never really question the lens. That's literally how the scripting toward win-lose or lose-win, or just the kind of narcissistic, selfish approach of win starts. Let's look at some of those. First, the family. Particularly if love is given conditionally. In most people's lives, they've been powerfully scripted toward win-lose. The key scripting, the key mentoring and modeling is in the first few years with the family. That's why I often say to parents that the kindest thing that a husband or a wife can do for their children is to treat the husband or the wife, the spouse, with tremendous respect and love and consideration, and to model in the home a win-win approach to problem solving rather than a fighting approach or a flighting approach, kind of giving up. Always be grateful for the child that tests you the most, because it's that child that enables you to show unconditional love, love without condition. And when the other children sense that, they too know they are loved unconditionally. But if you love conditionally, and you've got one that really tests you to the very limits, and you, in a sense, give in to a win-lose spirit, or a lose-win spirit, to where you just kind of bag the child, just have your way, do your thing, or whatever, you've instantly communicated to the rest, when push comes to shove, if it gets too far, you too will be loved conditionally. And the root of unconditional love is so basic to the concept of the abundance mindset, see, to where your security comes from within instead of from without, where you compare it to other people. Because if you're constantly in a state of comparison, then obviously you're going to be scripted emotionally toward win-lose. So basic. And that's in the family. And there are so many things you can do in the family. The most foundational one is how you treat your spouse. And then how you treat the child that tests you the very most. Then do everything you can to create a win-win approach in all that takes place. We used to do our family work parties on Saturday morning. So we'd set a goal to have so much done by a certain time, and that everyone would do what's necessary, and then we would have a special kind of party or some reward. We'd go do something as a family. In bowling, we would go for a family score instead of just for individual scores. There are so many ways you can start to inculcate the spirit of win-win. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't a place also for some parlor games and competition. The key thing is that There's respect for both forms of human interaction. They each have their place in life, but let's not push out the interdependency and the cooperation in the name of everything is a big competition. I would say that if you're in the school business, or if you could influence the school business, to try to get a spirit of teamwork at school. Get people to work as teams instead of individually only. I'm not against individual work as well. That's important. But also teamwork, where they learn to interact with other people and to come up with better solutions. And I would do away with all normal distribution curves. I'd have people either be graded against a standard which was clearly communicated, in which you as a teacher said, my job is to help you. My job is not to judge you, it's to help you reach the standard. A grade will come out in terms of that standard, but my job is to help every one of you get an A. But a lot of people were raised, in a sense, in a school where collaboration and cooperation was called cheating. And they're getting programmed toward win-lose right in the school. The problems in society are problems of interdependency. They really are. Are they not? Think about it. Think of every field of human endeavor. So I would say, try to influence schools toward teams, teamwork, more cooperation. So the application of this way of thinking at home, think of all of the different ways at school, and also the way they relate to their peers. Avoid comparison languages between people. You're better, you're prettier, you're more handsome, you're the one that stood out. Just kind of avoid comparisons. And yet most of us have been powerfully raised in this kind of win-lose scripting where criticisms, complaining, and comparison and competition were just the way things are. How many can relate to that? See, most of us can. Oh, athletics. Let me just mention a couple there. I saw my son Stephen training his son Stephen to prepare for a particular soccer game. And he was talking about the goals to be accomplished. I was so impressed by that. So I went to my son Joshua in his soccer game and basically said to him, son, let's talk about what some of the goals could be. What do we want to accomplish? You know, in his mind, primarily because of the culture, was what? Win, okay? So we put that down as one of the goals. We want to win. Now, do you want to try your hardest? Do you want to do your best? Would that be another goal? Yeah? Yeah. What if you tried your hardest and achieved that goal even though you didn't win? Now, what about a team spirit? Do you want to pull together as a team instead of just having hot-dogging, grandstanding people that want all the attention? You want to assist people and be happy for them and be happy for the people that hardly ever have a chance to play so that they can develop some skills too and really hope for other people's successes. What would you think of that? Another goal. Have you ever gone to a game where you had fun till you lost, then it was no fun? What about having fun? And probably the most important goal of all is learn. To learn. What did you learn? What did the team learn? And so, since that time we started that process, we literally, after every game, go through the 5 goals. Did you try your hardest? Did you win? We lost. Did you try your hardest? I did. Did you work as a team? Did you try to assist? Were you happy for other people's successes? Yes, I felt good about that. Did you have fun, son? I did. It's a lot of fun. It's more fun, he said, when we win. Yeah, it is. But that doesn't mean you can't have fun when you lose. Did you learn? What did you learn? You think the team learned? What did the coach say to you afterwards? Look, you accomplished 4 of the 5 goals. It's tremendous, son. One time you won. You accomplished 5 of the 5 goals. And you learned. I mean, that'll help you better accomplish the next time you play. Let's look at 4 dimensions of win-win. First, the character. I suggest these 3 fundamental characteristics. First, integrity. Integration around principles, around natural laws. Second, the fruit of integrity is maturity. Courage balanced with consideration. Self-confidence balanced with respect for others. Ego strength balanced with empathy. I and thou. Maturity. Third, abundance. An abundance mentality. An abundance mindset. To not interpret life as a competition, as a contest. I suggest both maturity and abundance, the abundance mentality, are the fruits of integrity. So habit 4, think win-win. Not win-lose, not lose-win. And not just win. Thinking just win. You know, some people get their metaphor of life from their high school football coach at halftime. And so when their spouse takes them on, what do? Fight. Compete. Win. Others will go for lose-win. Step on me again. Everyone else does. I'm a martyr. I'm no good. The dichotomy. You're either strong or you're weak. It's hard or it's soft. You win or you lose. Lose. Just the position of lose alone. I don't care whether you win or lose, I lose. This is how I see myself. Now, study the transactions. Look at every transaction as a moral one. There's a good and a bad side. You can take advantage, maybe. You can go for win-lose. You can really push your child and unkindly force your child or your employee who is so dependent upon you economically to do something that he or she doesn't want to do, maybe either for ethical reasons or competency reasons or time reasons or whatever. You can do it, but you know you've overstepped the bound. Anytime you use authority or position out of your own vain ambition, you are, in a sense, taking a withdrawal from the emotional bank account, and your influence will be eroded away. Ultimately, you cannot maintain influence. The goose will die. Abundance comes from maturity, which comes from integrity. Integrity is the root. Anytime you violate something inside your conscience, a principle, see if it does not manifest itself in some way by exercising control or dominion upon another person in a sense that is too much. It's unkind, it's wrong, and you know it. Or perhaps you just capitulated and gave in and went for lose-win. The second dimension is the nature of the relationship itself. We call that the emotional bank account, the trust level. If you have paid the price personally and cultivated these attitudes of integrity and abundance and maturity, you'll be in a constant state of making deposits. But if you have not, you may talk win-win, but they won't necessarily feel it. And if you have a weak relationship, a win-lose relationship, that will unquestionably affect the third dimension. The third dimension has to do with the agreement that you have with that person, the commitment that you mutually make with each other. That's called a win-win transaction. The fourth dimension has to do with the systems and the processes. Are they also win-win? Did you establish a win-win approach to building the character, the relationship, and the agreements? Or are you laying on those good win-win things in win-lose ways? Do you say you value cooperation and reward competition? Strive to create the spirit where everyone can win without comparisons. How you do that is not an easy thing, But those who have done it are so much more productive than those who are always driving deep this normal distribution curve and rewarding only those at the top. In fact, I said to one, "Didn't you hire them all as winners?" He said, "Yeah." "And now you sort them out?" The 4 dimensions of win-win. Can you remember what they are? First, character. Second, relationships. Third, agreements. And fourth, win-win systems. Win-win processes. You know my green and clean story. My little son agreed in a family meeting to take care of the yard. "Son, your job is green and clean. It has nothing to do with watering. That's a method. Let me show you what green looks like, son. Let's go over to our neighbor's house. That's the color we're after, son. Compare that with our yard, which I've been taking care of. Clean means let's clean up half of it. Now notice that compared to that. That's green and clean, son. 2 weeks to train this little kid in green and clean. Now, son, how you do that is up to you. I'd tell you how I do it if you want. How would you do it, Dad? I'd turn on the sprinklers. But you may want to use buckets or hose or spit all day long. All we care about is what, son? Green and clean. What's green look like? Good. What's clean? Good. It's your job, son. Guess who your boss is, son? Who? You boss yourself. Guess who your helper is? Who? I am. You boss me. I do? Many times I'm away. Many times I'm very busy with other things. But if I ever have any time, you need help, you just tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And guess who judges you, son? That's right, you judge yourself. How do you think you judge yourself, son? Green and clean. What's green now? What's clean now? Good. Is that a deal, son? You think about it for a day or two. Saturday. How do you feel, son? I'll do it. Do what? Green and clean. How? That's up to me. Who's your boss? I boss myself. Who judges you? I judge myself. How do you judge yourself? Green and clean. What's green? Good. Clean? Good. Who's your helper? You are if you have time. What if I don't have time? I got to do green and clean. Is that a deal, son? Deal was made. You did nothing. 2 weeks of training. Nothing all that Saturday. All that Sunday. Monday. It's Tuesday morning. Going to work. Hot. Summer day. Burning up. Yellowing. Neighbor's yard. Green and clean. Manicured. Garbage strewn right down the side lawn from the Saturday night barbecue. Falling out the bottom of the sack. 3 feet from my car. I could rationalize a little away Saturday and Sunday. But Monday, this is inexcusable. I was ready to move to win-lose. Now, son, you get out there, you get over here, or I'm telling you, the moment you do, you kill the goose. You kill effectiveness. You go for efficiency. Yeah, he'll clean that up. And what happens tomorrow when you're not there? Bite your tongue. Reaffirm your purpose. Raise boys, not grass. Oh, let's see what it looks like tonight. Could hardly wait to get home. Driving, going around the corner, there where my yard was. Tuesday afternoon. More cluttered, more yellow than ever. My son across the street, playing ball in the park. I was burning. We'd agree that we'd walk around the yard twice a week, and he'd show me how it's going. Hi, son. How you doing? I was faking it totally. Just fine, Dad. How's it going in the yard, son? Just fine, Dad. That was his accountability. Why? I violated our agreement. I knew that. That's not what we agreed to do. I bit my tongue. After dinner, why don't we walk around? You can show me how it's going. Before we got to the door, you could see his lip. By the time we got out to the front yard, just open bawling. Oh, it's so hard. I mean, what was hard? He hadn't done one single thing. I'll tell you what hard is moving up the level of initiative. If you nag people enough, work is the course of least resistance. You cannot hold people responsible for results if you supervise their methods. Anything you want me to do to help, son? Would you? What was our agreement? You said you'd help if you have time. I've got time. Just a minute, Dad. Ran in the house, came out with 2 sacks. He handed me one. He took one. It makes me vomit. You pick that up, you know. Just took that wet garbage, stuffed it in the sack, you know. That's when he signed the win-win performance agreement. And he only asked for help a couple more times that entire summer. It was his job. It takes time to set up the agreement and to reaffirm it. The tendency is to backslide on it when you see mistakes. Keep believing in the people, holding them accountable in the way agreed.